Hey everyone, Carl here with Literate Lessons, bringing you a deep dive featuring Palkia and Calyrex Ice. This is one of my more favorite duos, I think, in the format. Overall, I think this is probably the strongest restricted pairing right now, even though Sun is super duper popular and Kyogre's Zacian has been ruling the roost for a while. I just think that there's a lot unexplored with this duo, and it just seems to always do well in certain situations and events, and can't figure out quite what the right build is yet. But before we get started on all that, make sure to do all the fun YouTube stuff. Hit that like button, ring the bell for notifications for new videos go live, smash that subscribe button. We are currently just under 350 subscribers. Would love to pass that goal here before I leave for Indy. And make sure to check us out on Twitch as well, at twitch.tv/MrMissouri25, and I will be streaming every day in April, so that'll be twitch.tv/musical. I'm not sure what we'll be doing yet. We'll probably be doing a mixture of Pokemon and speedrun and stuff like that, but yeah, come catch me live on Twitch. So why do I think this duo is so good? So the cool part about this duo is it's got a lot of actual strong finishes. We didn't get to see it too much at Salt Lake City. Wolfie, I believe, was the only pilot to top 32, and his build was very interesting. It consisted of Dusclops and Pheromosa and the redirection duo that we normally see paired with us in Amoonguss and Indeedee. So it felt a little bit memey, I would say. I felt like he wasn't taking it too terribly serious trying to go into this event, and he just really needed to top 32 for a Worlds invite. Otherwise, this team has gotten a second place in Brisbane, multiple top 32 finishers in Liverpool. It's dominated the March IC back, heck, that was 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago now. So yeah, I feel like this duo is very, very strong. It does a lot of things really well. And the big argument is oh, it dies to Zacian. Well, that's because you're just not positioning yourself correctly. A lot of teams just die to Zacian, but you just have to position yourself better and get it lined up in front of Palkia with Trick Room up, and you win that game 100% of the time. Same thing kind of goes with Calyrex. If you get Calyrex and Trick Room lined up in front of a Zacian, the Zacian's not going to be able to do anything to it. You're going to be able to blow it up because you have redirection on your side and Amoonguss and Indeedee or Indeedee. You don't have to play both, but I think playing both of them can be viable for this team. I think I prefer Amoonguss over Indeedee more, mainly due to the fact that nobody really cares about safety goggles right now because Venusaur is not a thing, and so you are just. They do the same thing for most of the time outside of Rillaboom or Kartana. Kartana getting popular might mean you want to lean towards Indeedee more. So that's just personal preference, I feel like, when it comes to picking your redirector. But the redirector is super duper important on this team because the idea here is you max one of these two. These are your only Dynamax targets for the most part. There's builds with Tapu Fini. We've seen that. Usually those builds that have Tapu Fini don't have Indeedee. You don't want to do your own train worse things. They still keep Amoonguss, and it's kind of tricky trying to do Spore and Misty Terrain things, but that's just whatever. For our build, we're going to forego that and probably go with one of the more standard double redirection builds. And in our case, I'm going to probably just lean on Incineroar and Porygon 2. Other options here, you could play Dusclops in this Porygon 2 slot. That actually makes a really good weakness policy trigger for Calyrex, if that's something you're interested in. If you're interested in stuff like that, Shadow Sneak's a very good way to activate a weakness policy on Calyrex if that's something we're interested in. Or we can play something similar to what we saw Aaron Zybertron play on his YouTube channel with a Babiri Berry set, and something that's a little bit bulkier and not really reliant on getting weakness policy set up and whatnot. For the sake of this, I like weakness policy a little bit more, and I also like not being completely, utterly boned by Sacred Sword Zacian. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to play Dusclops, just because it's a little bit easier to build with. Not have to worry too terribly much about Zacian means that we can play a little bit safer. And everybody likes Incineroar. Incineroar pairs really well when you don't have Indeedee all the time. I personally think Lando's really, really good, and is my current adjustment for Sun teams when it comes to Intimidate. And I usually play like a bulkier support Lando set. So we'll kind of explore that today too. So what are we going to do here? So we have really big options. We're kind of wide open right now when it comes to terms of what we want to build, how we want to build it. Palkia sets have adapted to be Lustrous Orb instead of Life Orb now. You sacrifice a little bit of your extra bulk by having to put it into your special attack, which I think that is a fine trade-off. You're still fairly bulky most of the time. Carrying Pressure, carrying the standard Spatial Rend, Hydro Pump as your stab moves, because they get both boosted by Lustrous Orb. We have to carry Earth Power to be able to destroy Zacian. And then this is where it gets interesting. You can carry Trick Room or you can carry Protect. I think it varies depending on your team. Usually the ones that usually the teams that don't want to worry about Trick Room too terribly much don't usually put it on there. I feel like having 3 Trick Room setters means that your opponent has to respect it 100% of the time, and they have to find a way to beat it. So we're going to put it on there. Also, it just turns into max guard. You're Dynamaxing one of these two 90% of the time. On this one, you could probably max Landorus sometimes, depending on our set. But you're Dynamaxing, you're restricted a lot of the time. So this is always going to be a max guard when it matters. As for Calyrex Ice, with this Dusclops, it leans me into wanting to do Weakness Policy, which is totally fine. You'd want the standard Glacial Lance, and you'd want to do High Horsepower, and then Pride Trick Room, and then this one you would 100% want Protect just outside of max, because you are slow. You do die to Zacian a lot easier than Palkia does, so you definitely want to be able to kind of mitigate chances that you just die to a random Behemoth Blade. Outside of that kind of Weakness Policy set, there is Babiri Berry sets with like Swords Dance over Protect, which is fine. I feel like you really have to utilize your redirection really well if you want to do that. And depending on your other Trick Room setter or other Pokemon in this Dusclops slot here will determine what your item is here. As for Amoonguss, there's a lot of debate on what's actually good on Amoonguss right now. I make the joke in the podcast a lot that Amoonguss is the bulkiest grass type that requires Focus Sash. This thing was designed to be very, very bulky, and the fact that Dynamax is a thing means that you have to carry Focus Sash on this Pokemon a lot of the time. Now that being said, you also have Indeedee, which also really likes Sash. Both your redirectors like being able to take hits, so you kind of want to do the whole who's got the Sash game sometimes. In the case of Indeedee, I think Psychic Surge, Psychic Seed is much better in this format. Indeedee's great against like the special attackers. You can kind of just sit there and take all the special attacks that your opponent's going to do, and when you see a Zacian, you can just eat a Behemoth Blade 1 or 2 times, like one time, and then that's it. And whereas Amoonguss can eat a couple Behemoth Blades and be that anti-Zacian thing that you really, really want it to be. Moves for these guys, it's fairly standard. Rage Powder, Spore for Amoonguss, and then Pollen Puff depending on your move set if you like that, and then Protect, especially if you're Sash, you want Protect so you don't get got by Fake Out. As for Indeedee, Follow Me, Helping Hand, Expanding Force, because that's just free spell spread damage for you every time, and then also Protect. I feel like these are very standard sets, but you don't have to be fancy with these guys. You want them to just be the best support Pokemon they can be. Next up for Dusclops and the rest of our supporting cast here, I think Dusclops obviously Shadow Sneak. I think Willow's really great to have. And then beyond that, it kind of is up in the air. You have a little bit of options here. It's another Pokemon that notably gets Helping Hand if that's something you're interested in. Trick Room is always a must-have on this thing. And depending on what you're doing with it, you could also just run Ally Switch if that's something you're interested in. You have access to Haze to remove all boosts. If you're not running Weakness Policy Calyrex, that is a great idea. Like we said, Helping Hand. We also get access to like Taunt if you want to be able to stop like opposing like Incineroar from doing stuff, because most of the time they're going to try to sit there and Parting Shot off of you, and if you could stop that, that's really, really good. Weird, neat things. Gravity, something you can always consider there. So if you like wanting to play like a Stone Edge or like a Stone Edge Landorus, you can always do that. There's also options for like Rock Tomb if you're wanting more speed control in that set. You could even run Imprison to stop opposing Trick Room. That's always an option. For our sakes and purposes, I think I'm just going to go with Helping Hand just for extra damage output. Having all that extra bonuses is really, really good. What we could actually do is drop Helping Hand here and actually run like Heal Pulse or our own Fake Out technically. One of the cool things about Fake Out in DD is it's not great all of the time, but if they lead like Zapdos or Yveltal or something like that, you can usually catch them off guard because, hey, I have Fake Out, you're not grounded, clap, they're done. It's just interesting little text there that you can always think about and try to run with that. So this Landorus set, I like AV Landorus a lot right now. Another thing I like is Rocky Helmet Landorus. It's weird, but with the case for this team, I think I'd rather have an AV set so I can Dynamax if I need to. This is a great anti-bulky steel Pokemon that both of these Pokemon kind of struggle with outside of Dynamax, so having Landorus as the option of I'm gonna beat your steel type a lot of the times is really, really good. Earthquake is really, really good here. Rock Slide or Stone Edge right now. You could run Stone Edge if you're really struggling against like Charizard and the Sun teams. Stone Edge is a great option. But I just like having Rock Slide flinches. Fly, obviously, for max Airstream. And then this last slot can kind of be whatever. You have access to Grass Knot if you really want to like beat up Gastrodon, because Gastrodon kind of walls your Palkia. You have access to Brick Break if screens are an issue. This is really, really good. You could also do the whole Rock Tomb thing, like I mentioned earlier. If you're looking for speed control and your Calyrex might be able to outspeed something if it's -1, Rock Tomb Landorus might be able to get you there. So definitely look at what you really need for your team. In this case, I like Brick Break or Grass Knot. Let's just run Brick Break. Brick Break's great because we can boost our Calyrex's attack if we're Dynamaxing it, and then just +1 Calyrex usually can just sweep through teams anyway, outside of max. So other options you can play on this team besides our team here we have, like I said, Regieleki's been something that's been very, very popular. Usually you drop in DD for it. You would drop in DD, drop Landorus, put Regieleki on, and then put Incineroar on. Just standard stuff like that can kind of depend on your pace of play. If you want something that's great against like an opposing Trick Room, Regieleki's going to be your guy. Incineroar is also really good into Zacian. Obviously, you struggle against specifically Kyogre and Groudon sometimes, but most of those are going to be dealt with fairly easily with Palkia and Calyrex Ice. Other things you can do are look at the Tapu Fini sets. There's been some really cool things with Tapu Fini. Granted, it does have the non-bow of Amoonguss, but they also play Regieleki to kind of just go fast mode. And Tapu Fini's that nice extra water type to help beat up Sun teams sometimes. So how do we go about EVing this team and getting it ready to play? Things to note a lot of the time is you can either play a fast Palkia or a slow Palkia, depending on what you're wanting to do here. If you don't have a really good fast mode on your team, it's good to just play the slow Palkia. Slow Palkia will take care of it most of the time. I think a lot of it needs to be bulk. A lot of your investment needs to be bulk, and a lot of your investment needs to be special attack, because like I said, you're maxing this thing. I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are, but you probably want to be able to live up a Play Rough and Dynamax. So whatever that value is, it's probably like something similar to this. I don't know. And then whatever Earth Power KO is. I remember 188 with Life Orb was the KO with max with Earth Power. I don't know what this new Lustrous Orb set is. Since we're not playing Life Orb, we could play it on here, depending on what we wanted to do. I think having HP, though, is much more important than the chip damage that we'll take from Life Orb. And then you can kind of just play with your numbers a little bit. I'm just going to steal a set that I found online. Shh, don't tell anyone. I'm just going to snag this, and we'll go from there. I like this. I feel like this is fine. This hits 123, so you're not really super duper fast, but you're fast enough, I feel like. This is a modest set, and I think this might get enough to deal with Zacian. I'll have to do the calcs off camera to figure it out, and then we'll make adjustments accordingly. Calyrex, super duper easy most of the time. Just literally, this isn't hard to figure out. There, you're done. You want this to be... So this is where you can get tricky. Okay, I over jumped to the gun here, because this is where you can get tricky. You could obviously play a less attack invested... Where's the bump? What's the bump? Bump is right there. So you can play something like this. It's a little less invested into attack, because you are weakness policy. You are going to activate that most of the time. And you want that extra special defense to probably lift some hits, let's be honest. And then you can get tricky with your speed. So if you're worried about Trick Room, and if you're just worried about them setting up Trick Room, and you want to make sure you underspeed, going 0 speed minus nature is fine. If you want to get real weird, you could do 0 speed 55 and no investment, like no investment, no minus nature, no nothing. So then you will outspeed outside of Trick Room and can do some shenanigans that way once Trick Room's over. It's just personal preference and things you want to do. It's stuff you'll have to remember when you go to EV your team later. General Mungus and Indeedee bulk. I believe the Indeedee set's fairly straightforward. It's like something like this. You want to be min speed. I will tell you that for free. You want to be min speed Indeedee. You always want to be able to set up your terrain under Rillaboom, under Tapu Fini, because you are all base 85. All base 85. Everyone's playing that game of who's got the lower speed. So if you are neutral, if you are 31, no invested, you're going to probably speed tie the Tapu Fini that's also just bulk invested, not sitting there, not caring. So definitely go make sure you're min speed minus nature. I don't know Amoongus. I'm assuming this is like whatever, and then sassy. Same situation. There's a correct number and a wrong number. I believe it was 27 or something like that. I don't remember. You can go min speed if you're really, really interested in trying to just make sure that you are the best under Trick Room that you can be. Cool. This thing, I don't remember its calcs either. I'll do most of these off camera, but like just general, you want to be more defense invested than special defense invested right now, because Zacian can usually deal with you fairly quickly. Relaxed nature is fine, or bold, or whatever you want to do. Ta-da! Look at that. And then for Landorus, again, this is another thing you'll have to do calcs on. I'm not sure exactly. I like hitting 149 with my bulkier sets. 149 means in Dynamax, I outspeed Calyrex Shadow at +1. I think that's the right number. Yeah, 149 means I outspeed Calyrex Shadow at +1, because that gets me to 223. Yep. Okay, I remember. And then you can probably just do minimal bulk investment, minimal attack investment, enough to probably deal significant damage to Zacian or whatever, and so on and so forth. This is also where the argument of pressure over telepathy comes in, because you have Landorus. Notable things to remember: you cannot pollen puff your telepathy Palkia. It does not work. We were corrected from our podcast episode a couple weeks back. Thank you to whoever corrected that. I can't remember your name right now. So if that is something you're interested in and wanting to do that with, instead, Seed Bomb over any of the other moves is probably fine. And then you could swap to Telepathy, and then you could play Earthquake Landorus next to your Palkia, no problem. The rest of this probably can just special defense and defense, depending on what your HP and all that nonsense is. Alright, let's test this team out and kind of show you what the idea here is. Like I said, you're going to max one of these two most of the time, especially against this kind of team. I think Calyrex Ice is a great max target, but we're probably not going to lead it. That being said, I think Indeedee Dusclops is a fine double up here. The Kyurem kind of makes me iffy. Do not bring Palkia. I kind of feel like I need to bring Palkia there. Here. And then there's Calyrex to max to kind of deal with everything. I think that's fine. So the idea between Indeedee female and Dusclops is that I get to set Psychic Terrain if they want. Okay, so they brought Rillaboom out and they can't. This was the thing they needed to not do, is bring Rillaboom in the lead, because now I can just Follow Me and Trick Room. This is just free now. Knockoff is fine. I'm gonna Will-O-Wisp the Rillaboom while I have it here. I really want them to take out Indeedee here. Expanding Force, and might as well just Will-O-Wisp the Grimmsnarl too. The more things that I can burn, even if I'm not I'm not using my Trick Room effectively, we are more so just, that's fine. We're more so just chipping damage on them. I lost my Eviolite. That sucks. Expanding Force and just Shadows. I can't Shadow Sneak. Actually, could I do that? I could do that. So here's the sneaky line. We pivot into Calyrex Ice. We activate our policy. They're focused on the Dusclops now. Then we get to free Glacial Lance and a Helping Hand boost it with the Calyrex. Them having knockoff tells me they're AV Rillaboom, so they'll probably pivot it out here. And so whatever comes in is getting a +2 Helping Hand boosted Glacial Lance to the face. Okay, they're just gonna let it go down. That's fine. Now we Dynamax and Max Guard to protect ourselves from Zacian while we burn it. Yep, that's fine. We eat the Behemoth Blade. That's fine, because now we can do this. We can Max Quake the Zacian and click the Follow Me button. Because I don't think Kyurem can deal with all of this. Because this is faster than the Kyurem, Behemoth Blade's going to go here, and Kyurem's going to Wyrmwind. We eat that up. Zacian goes down. We go to +1 again, so now we're back to +3. And then we have Palkia here, and now it's literally just Hailstorm Spatial Rend. Like, there's nothing they can do here. They either take out the Palkia or they take out the Calyrex, and they can't take out either. Like, they can't take out one without hitting the other. And that's it. That's how you work. That's how you do it. So going back over this, like I said, there's some interesting nuances on this team, things you have to remember and things you have to like plan for. Like I mentioned, you could swap this Indeedee out for Regieleki. That is completely fine. If you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit more offensive and you're looking to do something like that, like Life Orb Regieleki solves all your problems 100% of the time. With that being the case, you would probably want to drop this for Incineroar, and then swap this guy out for Porygon 2. And then you'd probably want to play a different type of Calyrex Ice. Like I mentioned, there is a Berry set that guaranteed lives a hit from Zacian. And this team is not as reliant on getting Trick Room up and doing the thing. You do have some good pivot ability with Incineroar here. Porygon 2 has Trace. I've seen Analytic Porygon 2 popping up too. That's something that's interesting. So definitely play around with this duo. Don't settle on double redirection and whatnot. Like, everybody else has been doing. I think there is something to this duo that we haven't quite figured out yet and can definitely work on for future events. And with that being said, that's all I got for today. Make sure to check out our rest of our Twitch and YouTube and all those links down below. Hit that like button, smash the subscribe button. Remember, I'd love to hit we're real close to 350 subscribers. Would love to get there. And yeah, make sure to have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at in the world. And we'll see you all on Sunday with a very special LRL showdown. Bye, everyone.